The text came through the family group chat on Thursday afternoon. I was in a meeting with the CEO of a Fortune 100 manufacturing company, reviewing a proposal for automated warehouse systems, when my phone buzzed on the conference table. I glanced down and saw the family chat notification. 23 unread messages. I ignored it and finished the meeting. The CEO signed a 3-year contract worth $42 million. We shook hands. He thanked me for the innovative solution. I walked him to the elevator and returned to my office. Then I opened the family chat. Mom. So excited for the barbecue on Saturday. Jason and Brittany's new house is beautiful. Dad. Can't wait to see the place. You kids did great. Aunt Carol. What should I bring? Jason, my younger brother, just yourselves. Brittany's handling all the food. Mom. Brittany is such a wonderful hostess. We're so lucky Jason found her. The messages continued like that for a while. Praise for Jason. Praise for Brittany. Excitement about their new house in the suburbs. Their successful careers. Their perfect life. Then, buried in the thread, Jason. Quick note. We're keeping this to close family and Brittany's work friends only. Don't come to the weekend barbecue, Elise. My new wife says you'll make the whole party stink. I stared at the message. Within seconds, reactions appeared. Mom's thumbs up. Dad's thumbs up. Aunt Carol's laughing emoji. No one defended me. No one questioned it. They just agreed. I scrolled up through the earlier messages, looking for context. There was none. Just my brother casually uninviting me from a family event, insulting me in the process, and everyone supporting him. I typed one word. Understood. Then I muted the chat and went back to work. Jason was my younger brother by 4 years. Growing up, we'd been close. I'd helped him with homework, defended him from bullies, cheered at his soccer games. Then he went to college, met Brittany, and everything changed. Brittany came from a wealthy family in Connecticut. Her father was a commercial real estate developer. Her mother sat on charity boards. She'd gone to an expensive private university, joined the right sorority, and graduated with a degree in communications that she'd never actually used. She'd met Jason at a college party. He was a business major, good-looking, ambitious. She decided he had potential. After graduation, Brittany's father got Jason a job at his company. Entry-level, but with a clear path to management. Within 3 years, Jason was a regional manager making decent money. Not exceptional, but comfortable. Brittany worked part-time as a social media consultant for her mother's nonprofit, which basically meant she posted on Instagram and attended charity luncheons. They got engaged after dating for 2 years. The wedding was elaborate. Brittany's parents paid for everything. 200 guests. Destination rehearsal dinner. Features in local society pages. I was a bridesmaid. I wore the dress they picked. I smiled in the photos. I gave a toast at the reception. But I could feel Brittany's judgment the entire time. You came alone? She'd asked at the rehearsal dinner. I'm not seeing anyone seriously. That's too bad. Most of the wedding party is bringing partners. You'll be the only single one. I'll survive. She'd smiled that tight smile of hers. Well, maybe you'll meet someone at the wedding. Though most of Jason's friends are already taken. And they tend to date a certain type. I knew what she meant.
Thin. Polished.
Conventionally attractive.
Not me.
I was fine with how I looked. I was healthy. I dressed professionally. I didn't obsess over fashion or makeup. I focused on my work instead of my appearance. Brittany found that incomprehensible. After the wedding, her comments became more frequent and more pointed. Still shopping at Target, Elise? Have you thought about joining a gym? Jason's company has a great corporate membership. You should really invest in a professional wardrobe. First impressions matter so much in business. My parents never said anything. If anything, they seemed to agree with her assessment. Brittany has a point, Mom said once. You could put a little more effort into your appearance. I'm fine the way I am, Mom. Of course you are, honey. But it wouldn't hurt to try. What my family didn't know, what they'd never bothered to ask about, was what I actually did for a living. They knew I worked in supply chain management. They knew I had an office downtown. They knew I traveled occasionally for work. What they didn't know is that I was the chief operating officer of Vertex Logistics, one of the fastest-growing supply chain technology companies in North America. I'd started at Vertex 8 years ago as a junior analyst. The company was small then, maybe 30 employees, focused on providing logistics software to mid-sized manufacturers. I'd seen potential that others missed. I'd worked 80-hour weeks. I'd taken on projects no one else wanted. I'd proven myself again and again. Within 3 years, I was director of operations. Within 5, I was VP. Last year, at 34, I'd been promoted to COO. Vertex now had 800 employees across 12 offices. We served clients in 23 countries. Last year's revenue was $380 million. We were on track to go public within 18 months. As COO, I oversaw all operational functions. I managed the leadership team. I negotiated major contracts. I represented the company at industry conferences and investor meetings. I made $420,000 a year, plus equity that would be worth tens of millions when we went public. I drove a practical Honda because I didn't care about cars. I lived in a nice but modest condo because I traveled constantly and was never home. I shopped at Target because it was convenient and I had better things to do than obsess over designer labels. My family had interpreted all of this as lack of success. They'd never asked about my job title. They'd never asked about my responsibilities. They'd never asked why I traveled or who I met with or what I was building. They'd seen the surface, single, plain, practical, and assumed I was struggling. Meanwhile, Jason made $78,000 a year managing regional accounts for his father-in-law's company. Brittany made maybe $20,000 with her consulting. They'd bought their house with a massive down payment from Brittany's parents. But they had the visible markers of success. The big house, the new cars, the social media presence, the right image. So my family assumed they were doing better than me. I never corrected them because, honestly, I didn't care. I was too busy building something real to worry about their perceptions. Saturday morning, I went to the office. We had a major client presentation on Monday, and I wanted to review the materials one more time. Around 10 a.m., my assistant called. "Elise, there are 2 people here to see you. They don't have an appointment, but they say they're family. Jason and Brittany Hartwell." I checked my watch. The barbecue was supposed to start at noon. Why were they here? Send them up. 5 minutes later, my office door opened. Jason walked in first, looking confused. Brittany followed, dressed in designer casual wear that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. They both stopped dead when they saw me sitting behind my desk. My corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Modern furniture. Awards on the wall. The Vertex logo prominently displayed. "Elise." Jason said, "What are you doing here?" "I work here." "You work at Vertex Logistics?" "I'm the COO." Brittany's face went white. "The COO?" "Chief Operating Officer, yes." "That's not possible," Jason said. "You're in supply chain management." "I am. As the Chief Operating Officer of a supply chain technology company." Brittany was looking around the office like she couldn't process what she was seeing. Her eyes landed on the framed photo on my credenza, me shaking hands with the governor at a business leadership event last year. Is that you with the governor?"
Yes.
We were both speakers at the Manufacturing Innovation Summit. Jason sat down heavily in one of my visitor chairs. "I don't understand. We thought you were like a mid-level manager somewhere." "Why would you think that?" "Because you never said, you never told us. You never asked." Brittany found her voice. "How long have you been the COO?" 14 months. "And before that?" "VP of Operations for 3 years. Director before that." Brittany's hands were shaking. She looked at Jason. "We need to leave." "Wait," I said. "Why are you here? The barbecue doesn't start for 2 hours." Jason wouldn't meet my eyes. Brittany wanted to check out a furniture store downtown. We were in the area, and she suggested we stop by Vertex to To see where the failure in the family worked, Brittany finished quietly. I wanted to see your sad little office job. I was going to take photos. For the group chat? I asked. She nodded, looking at the floor. I leaned back in my chair. So you uninvited me from your barbecue because I'd make the party stink, and then you came here to mock my workplace. Is that about right? Elise, I'm so sorry, Jason said. We didn't know. We thought. You thought I was unsuccessful. You thought I was embarrassing. You thought I didn't measure up to your standards. That's not what I meant when I sent that text. Yes, it was. You meant exactly that. And Mom and Dad agreed. They liked your message. They thought it was funny. Brittany was crying now, actual tears running down her carefully made-up face. I made a terrible mistake.
I was wrong about you.
I'm so sorry. Are you sorry you judged me, or are you sorry you got caught? She didn't answer. My phone buzzed. I glanced at it. Text from our CEO. Great work on the Thompson deal. Board is very impressed. Let's discuss your equity package this week. I looked back at Jason and Brittany. They looked small sitting in my office. Diminished. I think you should leave, I said quietly. You have a barbecue to host. Elise, please. Jason started. I said leave.
Now.
They left. I sat in my office for a long time after they were gone, staring out at the city skyline. Then I opened the family group chat. I typed carefully. For those who might be wondering why Jason and Brittany seemed shaken when they left downtown, they stopped by my office at Vertex Logistics. I should clarify something. I'm not a mid-level supply chain manager. I'm the Chief Operating Officer. I oversee 800 employees across 12 offices. I manage operations for a company with nearly $400 million in annual revenue. Jason uninvited me from today's barbecue because Brittany said I'd make the party stink. Mom and Dad liked that message. I just want everyone to understand exactly who you decided wasn't good enough for the family gathering. Enjoy your barbecue. I attached a photo. It was from a Forbes article about rising women in tech logistics. The headline, Elise Hartwell, COO of Vertex Logistics, on scaling operations in the digital age. I hit send. Then I turned my phone off and went back to work. I didn't turn my phone back on until Sunday morning. 147 missed calls, 86 text messages, 43 voicemails. I made coffee and started going through them. The family chat had exploded. Aunt Carol. Elise is the COO of Vertex. Uncle Mike. I just Googled her. There are articles. Multiple articles. She's been featured in business magazines. Cousin Sarah. Mom, didn't you tell me last month that Elise was struggling? Aunt Carol. That's what your aunt said. That's what we all thought. Mom. Elise, we need to talk. This is very confusing for everyone. Dad. Why didn't you tell us about your position? Jason. Everyone please calm down. There's been a misunderstanding. Brittany, I'm so sorry for everything. I made a terrible mistake. Aunt Carol. Jason, you told your sister she'd make the party stink. On what planet is that a misunderstanding? The messages went on and on. Family members I hadn't heard from in years were suddenly weighing in. Some were supportive. Many were shocked. A few were defensive. The voicemails were worse. Mom's first one, from 2:47 p.m. Saturday. Elise, what is going on? Jason came home from downtown, very upset. He said, you're some kind of executive? Why didn't you tell us? This is very embarrassing for the family. People are asking questions we can't answer. Call me back immediately. Dad, 3:15 p.m. Elise, your mother is very upset. We need to discuss this situation. You've made us look foolish. We had no idea you were in a position of authority. You should have communicated this to your family. Jason, for 02 p.m. Elise, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. Brittany is devastated. She's been crying all afternoon. Please call me back. We need to fix this. Then, around 6 p.m., the tone shifted. Mom, 6:23 p.m. Sweetheart, I've been thinking. We may have been too hasty about the barbecue. There was clearly a miscommunication. We'd love to have you over for dinner this week. We should celebrate your success as a family. Brittany, 7:45 p.m. Elise, it's Brittany. I don't even know what to say. I was completely wrong about you. I judged you based on superficial things, and I'm so ashamed. I'd love to take you to lunch this week. My treat. I want to make this right. I want to learn from you. Please call me. Jason, 8:30 p.m. Sis, I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But we're family. We can work through this. I love you. Please don't shut us out. Call me back. I deleted all the voicemails without responding. Monday morning, I arrived at the office at 7 a.m. to prepare for the Thompson Industries presentation. We were pitching a comprehensive logistics overhaul that would save them approximately $90 million over 5 years. At 8:15 a.m., my assistant called. Elise, your parents are here. They don't have an appointment, but they're insisting they need to see you. I closed my eyes. Tell them I have a presentation at 9 and can't meet until this afternoon at the earliest. I told them that. They said they'll wait.
Fine.
Show them to the small conference room. Give them coffee. I'll see them when I'm done with Thompson. The Thompson presentation went perfectly. The CEO loved our proposal. We shook hands on a $63 million contract. My team was ecstatic. It was 11:30 a.m. before I finally walked into the conference room where my parents had been waiting for over 3 hours. They both stood when I entered. My mother looked like she'd been crying. My father looked uncomfortable. 3 hours is a long time to wait, Dad said. I told you I had a presentation. You chose to wait. We needed to see you, Mom said. We needed to see this place. To understand. I sat down across from them. Understand what?
Why you didn't tell us, Dad said.
About your position. Your success. Your all of this. I looked at him for a long moment. When did you ask?
What?
When did you ask about my job? My responsibilities? My career progression? When did you show interest in what I was building? Mom shifted in her seat. We asked how work was going. And when I started to answer, you changed the subject. Every time you'd ask about work, I'd start to explain a project or a challenge, and within 30 seconds, you'd interrupt to talk about Jason's latest promotion or Brittany's social media following. That's not true, Dad protested. It is true. Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I tried to tell you about a major contract I'd closed. You listened for maybe 20 seconds before Mom interrupted to show everyone photos of Jason and Brittany's vacation to Turks and Caicos. Last Christmas, I mentioned I'd been promoted to VP. Dad said, "That's nice," and immediately asked Jason about his company's quarterly numbers. Mom was crying again. We didn't realize. You didn't want to realize. My career was boring to you. Jason's was exciting because it was tied to Brittany's family money. I drove a Honda, so you assumed I was struggling. I lived modestly, so you assumed I was unsuccessful. You never looked deeper because you didn't care to. We care about you, Dad said.
Do you?
Because from where I'm sitting, you cared about the version of me you'd created in your heads. Struggling Elise. Single Elise. Unsuccessful Elise. That version was convenient because it made Jason look better by comparison. It made Brittany's judgment seem reasonable. It gave you a family narrative that worked. That's not fair, Mom said. What's not fair is your son telling me I'd make the party stink and you liking that message. What's not fair is uninviting me from a family event because your daughter-in-law decided I was an embarrassment. What's not fair is treating me like a failure for 8 years while I was building something significant. Dad stood up. We made a mistake. We're sorry. But you're being very hard on us right now. I'm being honest with you. There's a difference. What do you want from us? He demanded. An apology? You have it. Recognition? We recognize your accomplishments. What else do you need to hear? I stood up to face him. I need you to understand that your apology rings hollow when it only came after you discovered I was successful. I need you to acknowledge that you would have continued treating me as lesser if Jason and Brittany hadn't walked into this office and seen the truth. I need you to admit that you valued me based on appearances rather than substance. We love you, Mom said weakly. Then you should have shown it when you thought I was a mid-level manager. Love shouldn't be conditional on success. I walked to the door and opened it. I have another meeting. You need to leave. Elise.
Leave.
Please. They left. I stood in the conference room for a long time after they were gone, looking out at the city. My assistant knocked gently. You okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
For what it's worth, I think you handled that with incredible grace. Thanks, Maria. Also, Jason called. 4 times. And Brittany called twice. They both want to schedule time with you. Tell them I'm booked indefinitely. With pleasure. That evening, my cousin Sarah called. Sarah was Aunt Carol's daughter, and we'd been close growing up. Elise, holy shit. I laughed despite myself.
Sarah.
I've spent the last 2 days reading everything about you online.
Forbes.
Business Insider. That profile in Supply Chain Management Review. You're kind of a big deal. I'm just doing my job. Don't be modest. You're a 34-year-old COO of a company about to go public. Do you know how insane that is? It's been a lot of work.
I bet.
Listen, I called because I owe you an apology. I believed the family narrative. I thought you were, I don't know, just getting by. I never asked questions. I never dug deeper.
I'm sorry.
Thanks, Sarah. My mom is furious with Aunt Linda and Uncle John, by the way. She said they treated you terribly, and Jason and Brittany should be ashamed of themselves. How's the barbecue aftermath going? Sarah laughed. It's a disaster. Brittany apparently spent most of the party crying in the bathroom. Half the guests left early. Jason looked like he wanted to disappear. And after your message in the group chat, people were asking her parents pointed questions about why they didn't know their daughter was a C-level executive.
Ouch.
They deserved it. Anyway, I wanted to ask, are you okay? This has to be a lot. Honestly?
I'm fine.
Better than fine, actually. This needed to happen. I've spent years being dismissed and underestimated. At least now, everyone knows the truth. The truth that you're a total badass. The truth that I'm exactly who I've always been. They just weren't paying attention. We talked for a while longer. It felt good to connect with someone who wasn't asking for anything, wasn't apologizing out of obligation, wasn't trying to fix what they'd broken. After we hung up, I opened a bottle of wine and sat on my balcony. My phone buzzed with another text from Jason. Jason, please, Elise. I know I don't deserve it, but please talk to me. I'm your brother. I love you. I made a terrible mistake. Let me make it right. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed a response. Me. You uninvited me from a family event because your wife thought I was embarrassing. You let her insult me in a group chat. You watched our parents like that message and said nothing. You came to my office planning to mock me. These weren't mistakes, Jason. These were choices. You chose Brittany's judgment over your sister. You chose appearances over substance. You chose to believe the worst about me rather than ask questions. Those were deliberate decisions, not accidents. The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Jason, you're right. I did choose wrong. I've spent the last 3 days thinking about every time I dismissed you, every time I let Brittany make those comments, every time I compared you to her standards instead of appreciating who you are. I was wrong. I was shallow. I was a terrible brother.
Me? Yes.
You were. Jason, is there any way to fix this? Me. I don't know. What I know is that I can't trust you right now. You showed me who you are when you thought I was unsuccessful. That's the version that's real. This apologetic version only appeared when you discovered I had a title and a salary that impressed you. That's not growth. That's opportunism. Jason, that's fair. I deserve that. But I want you to know that seeing your office, understanding what you've built, it woke me up. Not because of the title or the money. Because I realized I never actually knew my own sister. I never asked. I never cared enough to look past the surface. And that makes me sick. Me. Then maybe you should think about why you only value people when they meet certain standards. Maybe you should think about what that says about you and your marriage and your values. And maybe in a few months, when you've actually done that work, we can talk. Jason, can we still be brothers? I thought about that question for a long time. I don't know yet. Ask me in 6 months. I muted his contact and put my phone away. Brittany was persistent. She called. She texted. She sent flowers to my office with elaborate apology notes. She even tried to connect with me on LinkedIn with a message about learning from successful women in business. I ignored all of it. Finally, 2 weeks after the barbecue, she showed up at my office again. Maria called me. Brittany Hartwell is here. She's crying in the lobby and says she won't leave until you talk to her. I sighed. Give me 5 minutes, then send her up. When Brittany walked into my office, she looked different.
No makeup.
Casual clothes. Hair pulled back. She'd been crying, really crying, not the performative tears from before. Thank you for seeing me, she said quietly. You have 10 minutes. She sat down and took a shaky breath. I've spent 2 weeks thinking about what I did to you, how I treated you, how I judged you, and I need you to know that I understand how wrong I was. Okay. My whole life, I've measured people by superficial things. Clothes, cars, houses, jobs, looks. My parents taught me that those things mattered more than character or substance. And I believed them. I married Jason because he fit a certain image. I dismissed you because you didn't fit that image. And now I see how empty that is. How hollow. My marriage is falling apart, Elise. Jason looks at me differently now. He says I showed him something about myself that he can't unsee.
He's right.
I showed him that I'm shallow and cruel and judgmental. That's between you and Jason. I know. I'm not here to save my marriage. I'm here because I owe you a real apology. Not because you're successful. Not because I was wrong about your job. But because I treated another human being with contempt based on things that don't matter. I made you feel less than. I convinced your family that you were an embarrassment. I was the catalyst for your exclusion, and that's unforgivable. I studied her face. She looked genuine. Broken maybe, but genuine. Brittany, I appreciate the apology. I do. But I'm not going to absolve you or tell you it's okay. What you did hurt. It confirmed every suspicion I had about how my family saw me. It forced me to acknowledge that the people who should have valued me most only cared about surface-level success. I know. So, what do you want from me? Forgiveness? I'm not there yet. Maybe I won't ever be. What you did revealed something true about who you are. And apologies don't erase that. She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I don't want anything from you. I just wanted you to know that I see what I did. I see who I was. And I'm going to spend a long time trying to become someone different. Someone better. Then I hope you succeed. For your sake, not mine. She stood up to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, you're remarkable. What you've built, who you are, the grace you've shown through all of this. I wish I'd seen that from the beginning. I wish I'd been smart enough to learn from you instead of judging you. Maybe you can learn from this. I'm going to try. After she left, I sat in my office for a while, processing. I didn't forgive her. I didn't trust her. But I believed she was genuinely sorry. Sometimes that's enough. Not for reconciliation, but for closure. 6 weeks after the barbecue incident, my parents invited me to dinner. Just the 3 of us. No Jason, no Brittany. I almost said no. But Aunt Carol called me first. Your parents have been in therapy, she said. Both individual and couples. They're trying to understand how they failed you. I think you should hear them out.
So I went.
We met at a quiet restaurant downtown. My parents were already there when I arrived. They stood when they saw me. We hugged awkwardly. We ordered.
We made small talk.
Then, over appetizers, my father spoke. Elise, your mother and I have been doing a lot of work with a therapist. We've been examining how we parented you and Jason and how we created a dynamic where he was the golden child and you were overlooked. Dismissed, I said quietly.
Yes, dismissed.
And we need you to understand that we see it now. We see how we prioritized Jason's visible success over your quiet achievements. We see how we let Brittany's judgments influence us. We see how we failed you. Mom reached across the table. We told the therapist everything. Every time we compared you to Jason. Every time we dismissed your career. Every time we let Brittany make cruel comments without defending you. And the therapist helped us understand that we were intimidated by you. Intimidated? Dad nodded. You were always so self-sufficient. So independent. You didn't need our approval or our financial help. You built your career without asking for anything. Meanwhile, Jason needed constant support and validation. It was easier to focus on him because he needed us. You didn't seem to need anyone. So you decided I didn't deserve your attention? We decided we couldn't relate to you, Mom said. Your success was in a world we didn't understand. Technology, logistics, operations. It was foreign to us. Jason's career was more traditional, easier to comprehend. So we gravitated toward what was comfortable. That's not an excuse, Dad added quickly. That's an explanation. We failed you. We chose comfort over effort. We chose the easy relationship over the challenging one. And we're sorry. I sat back. What changed? Is it just that you found out I'm a COO? Honestly, Mom said, that was the catalyst. But the real change came from understanding how much we hurt you. The therapist asked us to imagine how it felt for you to be uninvited from a family event. To see our reactions to Jason's cruel message. To spend years being overlooked. And we couldn't bear it. We couldn't bear knowing we'd done that to our daughter. I don't know what to do with this, I said honestly. We're not asking for immediate forgiveness, Dad said. We're asking for a chance to rebuild.
Slowly.
On your terms. We want to know you. The real you. Not the version we created in our heads. I looked at them both. They looked older. Tired. Genuine. I need you to understand something, I said. I'm not going to educate you about my career or justify my life choices or prove my worth to you. If we rebuild this relationship, it has to be because you value me as I am, not because my title impresses you. We understand, Mom said. And I need space. This dinner doesn't fix 8 years of dismissal. It's a start. But it's only a start. Whatever you need, Dad said. We finished dinner. We talked about neutral things. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't terrible. When we parted, my mother hugged me tightly. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I should have said that years ago. I'm saying it now. It was something. 3 months after the barbecue incident, Vertex Logistics filed for our IPO. The opening day was extraordinary. The stock price jumped 43%. The company was valued at $2 billion. My equity package was suddenly worth $72 million. I became one of the youngest female COOs to take a company public. Forbes did a feature. Business Insider did a profile. I was invited to speak at industry conferences and women's leadership events. My family saw all of it. Jason sent flowers to my office with a card. Congratulations, sis. You deserve every bit of the success. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it. Brittany sent a handwritten letter. I didn't read it, but I appreciated the gesture. My parents came to the NYSE for the opening bell ceremony. They stood in the back, watching as I rang the bell alongside our CEO and the rest of the leadership team. Afterward, my father hugged me. I wish I'd been here for the whole journey, he said. Not just the victory lap. You can be here for what comes next, I said. I'd like that. It's been a year since the barbecue incident. My relationship with my parents is better. Not perfect, but better. We have dinner once a month. They ask about my work now, real questions, not just pleasantries. They listen to the answers. Jason and Brittany separated 6 months ago. Jason moved back to the city. He's been in therapy, working on himself. We text occasionally. We're not close, but we're not estranged. Brittany sent me a card last month. She'd started volunteering at a women's career center, helping low-income women prepare for job interviews. She wrote, I'm trying to be the person you already were. I hope she succeeds. I'm still at Vertex, Now as president and COO, we're expanding internationally. I'm building something that matters. I'm leading a team I believe in. And I'm doing it all as exactly who I am.
No pretense. No apologies.
No changing myself to fit someone else's standards. The person my family thought would make the party stink is the same person who rang the opening bell at the New York Stock Exchange. I was always that person. They just weren't looking. The end. Sometimes the greatest success is not letting other people's limitations define you. My family thought I was a failure. I was building an empire. They thought I was embarrassing. I was briefing Fortune 100 CEOs. They thought I didn't belong at their barbecue. I belonged in boardrooms. The only thing that changed was their awareness. I was always enough. They just needed to open their eyes.